But David, let me hit that question that you asked. So you asked, as a guitar player in a main service, we'll say electric guitar player. Obviously, there might be double duty. There might be a situation where there's only one electric guitar player, and inevitably you either have to play all the parts, when it comes to lead, rhythm, um, or maybe you're in a situation or a church where they only need you to play the lead. That could be a possibility if there's tracks and whatever. In my opinion, though, once again, coming back to guitar performance, playing in a church, um, if you're not always engaged, it's hard, at least for me, I'll say, as a worshiper. If I'm in the service, I'm sitting in the congregation, and I'm seeing a guitar player play a couple notes, and then they stop and kind of wait for the next time, and then they play again, and they wait for the next time. It's fine. It'll sound good. It'll sound correct. But as far as worship goes, uh, it actually would be more inviting, more enticing if we were always engaging in the music, even if it's just holding a note, doing a swell, palm muting something, or just, yeah, big chords, big open chords, or, David, you're amazing at getting those patches that just the atmospheric kind of sounds, the crazy swell stuff, and even switching from that, like even if you're looking at your board but you're vibing, you're nodding, you're tapping, you're engaged with the worship, like that's actually important, which is crazy, but it is, even if it doesn't necessarily sound all that different. The other flip side of this, let's say there's a couple electric guitar players, or maybe there's even acoustic, electric rhythm, and electric lead. I actually grew up in a church that's basically what we had. We always had this full on entourage of worshipers. But what's funny about that is no matter what, we were all always engaged. If the acoustic guitar player wasn't playing chords, he was lifting their hands, or she, as a rhythm guitar player, that's how I grew up, electric guitar wise in church. I only played rhythm. On the slight occasion I would play lead, it was just because it was like cool to harmonize or whatever, and I could always do all the leads and stuff, but I felt more drawn to just playing the chords, holding down the fort with the rhythm section, jamming out with the bass player. That's another thing to talk about, in ears, like intermix and stuff like that. So to answer your question, David, as long as you're engaged, as long as you're playing the song to its fullest potential as an individual, and if it's just you on that stage, then yeah, you're going to end up doing the lead, the rhythm. But if you have a whole entourage, if you've got a whole wall of guitar players, like what's that band, Eagles, right? Just like three or four different guitar players on stage, they're all like, if you muted three of them, you probably wouldn't even notice. And that's the funny thing, as a rhythm electric player, whenever I was playing, I knew in my heart that nobody knew what I was playing. No one could hear it, and no one could really like learn from it in the worship side of it. But the point is that if I wasn't playing, you knew something was missing. So it sounds kind of weird, sounds kind of counterintuitive. Like, hey, you're up there. Sometimes I would get paid, sometimes I wouldn't. You're up there on stage, and yet you're fully engaged the whole time. Yet you also know that probably no one is hearing what you're doing. But like I said, if I wasn't playing, just like if I was playing acoustic or just electric rhythm, um, you would feel something that was different. You wouldn't know exactly what it was, but it just maybe wouldn't feel as full, or whatever. It wasn't as dynamic. And so, as a guitar player on my end, electric guitar, um, I'm always going to be engaging. So if that means I'm playing a little lead part just because I want to, because I like this one little addition to the song, or I'm just there worshiping. I'm going to be engaged. I'm going to be in it fully. I'm going to be moving. I'm going to be hopping. I'm going to be doing something, and that's actually kind of why we're there. We're there to show our worship. And so even though on paper we'll say you're just supposed to be playing these five notes multiple times, and then there's only one other aspect in the bridge that you have to add, and that's it, you're still going to be engaged the whole time. So hopefully that answers your question, David. I apologize if we need to unpack it more later, but I'm sure we will.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good. It's helpful, especially the getting engaged just on like other ends, like even with like you said, smiling or raising your hands or just doing something to kind of keep it going. I think it's 100% something that I'm lacking. I mean, there's other things that I need to work on, but that's definitely one because I feel like I get so stuck in the little parts that I'm doing and I don't get engaged in other things. So it's cool that you pointed out and you mentioned it because I could definitely I'm definitely gonna pay attention to it more. Like now it'll be on the back of my mind to like work on that, you know? So yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all it takes, just being mindful, you know? I
Yeah.
got stories about that, but I'll tell you guys later. How you doing, Samuel?
Well, one
You,
of the
you,
my favorite things about leading worship with you, or yeah, playing with you, is the fact that that's what you do. You worship, right? Number one, I we can feel it, I can sense it, I can see it. And number two, you lead the kids, right? But
yeah,
also when you were playing, I always tell you when I was in cameras, dude, you're my favorite. I love the way when you're worshiping because yeah,
yeah,
everybody can see it comes naturally, smooth, and I love that, and I learned that, been learning
that's so
that from you.
cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing, man. That's dope.
those
Um,
two steps.
yeah, and once again, it's sometimes it's just that. It's just being mindful and being in not intuitive. It's being uh uh intentional. You know, as long as you're intentional, that's really all that matters.